It's all about truth. All of it. Every single thing. All boils down to the truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free. All right, welcome to the broadcast, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dan Dix. This is PFT Live. We're going to be taking some questions today, doing a bit of an AMA for the Steemit viewers and also everyone here on YouTube, especially if you get in your YouTube super chats. So we're going to wait for a few people to tune in, make sure we're actually broadcasting live and that this is all working. Bear with me. I'm going to go ahead and share these links and post it around on Steemit as well. I'm going to go ahead and post that right now. Post. And if you could do the same, maybe share this link around on Facebook and Twitter and Steemit and DTube and BitChute and whatever platforms you're currently on. And I'm going to constantly just refresh the Steemit post here, and then we'll check the chat here in YouTube. All right, we got a couple people tuning in, so that's good news. It looks like we're live. Isn't it real? Wildfire, Kristen Kruger, Mike Corbin, Hardline Atheist. Hello, everybody. Hello. PFT is the best. Well, thank you very much for that. Hey, you're streaming. Yes, I am. Good to have you here. Ophelius Rain. And yeah, feel free to get in your questions. We don't really have any kind of a particular topic today. I just felt like going live and interacting and chatting with you fine folks here on St. Paddy's Day, as Tammy Sanford has reminded me of. And no, I am not getting plastered for this particular live stream. I am going to be 100% sober-minded here today. And again, no particular topic, so feel free to shoot out any questions you want. Of course, it's been a pretty wild week. I don't know if you've been following some of the stuff I've been going through here at Press for Truth. Recently got a strike on my channel. The first time I've ever received any kind of a strike in, 11 years, 12 years of having this channel. About a week ago, all of a sudden, I got a community guidelines strike. I don't know if you guys saw this, for a video that I uploaded over 5 years ago. The video was titled Sandy Hook Crisis Actor Theories and the Big Picture. And I know for a fact that the reason why this video got flagged or picked up by the algorithms, I should say, is because of the words crisis actor. And YouTube is right now trying to clamp down on so-called conspiracy theory videos. So their algorithm picked up my crisis actor video. And I had to file an appeal. And I did. And I appealed it. And I said, look, the video is actually debunking this. Because at the time I was actually being accused of being a crisis actor myself, believe it or not. Some people were actually... A documentary film was made about this, and somebody noticed that I made an appearance in the film, and somebody made the claim that I was a crisis actor who was involved in Sandy Hook. Like, I was there and I was involved in it. So I had to address this, and I ended up interviewing the filmmaker and just, kind of laid out my views on these theories, especially when I'm being accused of being one. I pointed out how ridiculous it was. And so, yeah, I told YouTube just that. I said, look, the video was debunking these theories, so I'm trying to help the situation here. And then they got back to me a few days later and said, yeah, you're right. We reviewed your video again, and upon second thought, it looks like you didn't violate any of the community guidelines. So my account was restored. They blocked my ability to live stream for 3 months. And And so, obviously, I am back with a vengeance. So I figured, why not? Why not go live right away? So let me just share this link on Facebook. I forgot to do that. And if you guys could do the same, that would be great. Let's let people know we're live right now and we're taking questions. And there we go. And let me head back to the Steemit, give that a quick refresh, make sure we're good there. We are. I've already made a couple dollars on the Steemit post. If you guys want to learn about that, ask me all about it. Oh, we got a super chat coming in already. Thank you so much, Wildfire. Wildfire says, dropped my cable TV yesterday. I owe PFT so much. Always amazing content. My question, what's the scariest situation you've been in all these years? Well, thank you so much for the comment, Wildfire. I'm so glad to see that you've dropped off your TV. That's one of the best things you can do to deal with toxic brainwashing. And you know, I really feel sorry for people who especially tune into CNN all day. I haven't watched TV in years, and I was recently traveling. I was just in New York on the weekend, and sitting in the airport killing hours, all they play is CNN. So I was forced to just sit there and have to look at the TV, and there's CNN, and I just couldn't believe the garbage that they're spewing. I mean, I can believe it. I remember how bad it was, but that's why I got rid of my TV, and I'm glad you did the same thing. Thank you for the kind comments. The question is, what's the scariest situation I've been in all these years? That is a tough one, man. There's been a lot of weird ones. There's been a lot of crazy ones. Scary? I don't know. I might have to actually think about that one. I mean, some of the first things that come to mind are being threatened and intimidated by police and suits. You know, like for example, there was the time when I was covering Bilderberg in Germany, and some police officers came right into my hotel room. I found out later that they weren't allowed to do that, but I was in a different country and I wasn't exactly positive of those particular laws. So these guys just kind of pushed their way into their hotel room and started rifling through all my bags, and that was crazy. But that reminds me of the time when I was thrown in a jail cell in Copenhagen for questioning the organizing committee of the Bilderberg group. And what ended up happening was I'm sitting in a cell, and I right outside the cell I can hear them saying like, spread your legs, drop the pants, and somebody was getting strip searched like right outside my cell. And I remember thinking, is this coming to me next? I really don't want to see some dude walk in here with that white glove. All right, sir, come with me. And so I was fully expecting that to happen, and I remember that was a little spooky for me. But there's been other crazy moments I'm sure will come to head when I when I have a chance to think about it a little bit more. But those were definitely some intense situations that had me a little bit on the nervous side. So thanks for the question. I'll come back to that for sure, Wildfire, if I think of anything else. But certainly being forced to have all my stuff searched while this thug basically pushed me up against the wall in the hotel room and was really like one of those young cops who had that like army crew cut haircut and the strict jawline. He's got like veins that are just popping in his head, and he was just like fuming and just utter hatred in his eyes. You know, that was not fun. And I've had to deal with that kind of thing quite a few times. All right, let me quickly go back. I see a lot of comments coming up through. Let me scroll all the way back to the beginning because there's a lot coming through here, so bear with me. I'm just going to scroll through and look for question marks and the odd comment. Somebody says, Henry Kissinger said, you control the oil, you control the nation, you control the food, you control the people. Yeah, absolutely. That is very, very true. PFT, God bless you for all you do. Thank you, SJ. Robert W. Has Canada's head of state broken her coronation oath? I have no idea. I'm really not sure, but judging by the way things go here in Canada, probably. I mean, a lot of people don't know that how things work here. We're a constitutional monarchy, and the Prime Minister really answers to the Governor General, who's appointed by the Queen. So it's more like a dictatorship than a democracy, because that's kind of where everything rains down from, is the Queen, who appoints the Governor General, who is kind of above the Prime Minister, essentially, makes all the final decisions. Not that I believe in democracy. Anyways, we can certainly get into that if you'd like. Not a big fan myself of the system of the illusion of choice, which is what it's devolved into over the years. Maybe at one point in time, democracy worked the way it was supposed to, but even if it works the way it's supposed to, I mean, 51% making the decisions for 49. Well, it sucks if you're in the 49, but I'm just not a big fan of that system myself. Chris Monk says, do you think we will ever get to a point where the individual is truly sovereign and free without governments? Why do people still fund these things rather than themselves individually? Great question. I don't know if we ever will see that point where we're without government. I mean, I think that's why I've never fully self-identified as an anarchist, even though I'm fully in line with the non-aggression principle and the philosophies of anarchism, but I don't want to put that label on myself for that very reason, is that I'm not so sure it's ever possible to ever come. But why do people still fund these things, you say, rather than themselves as individuals, is a great question. I think that's one of the simplest solutions to stopping this crazy train that we're all on, is stop funding the state through your taxes. Just imagine if all of a sudden everybody collectively agreed and realized that, wait, taxation is theft. Taxation is extortion. I did not agree to this. This is not a mutual contract. I just so happen to be born on this land, and now I owe this cabal money, and if I don't give it to them, they show up at my house with guns and take me away to a cage and lock me up if I don't pay. That's not a voluntary society, which is something that I would like to strive for. So I would agree, Chris, the best way around that is to stop funding it, and to, like you said, fund yourself. And the best ways to fund yourself is by owning your things outright, not being under the grip of the bank in debt, having a garden, being able to grow your own food. These sorts of things are the way to fund yourself and to take the power away from the government. Becoming completely self-sustainable is a lot easier said than done, and being out of the clutches of the bank or out of debt, a lot of people have mortgages and line of credits and credit cards, and that's just the lives we're born into here. It's a debt-based system, so it's a lot easier said than done. Because a lot of times you might have to lower your standards of living, but in my opinion, it's better to live in a little shack that you own outright than to have a nice place that offers the luxuries of life, but you're indebted to the bank. I think it's much better to downgrade if possible so that you can own things outright. And yes, I would agree. Fund yourself. Let's stop funding the government, and taxation is key. All right, let's go on through, see if we can find some more questions, see who else we have in here. Bear with me, guys, because you gotta sit and watch me while I read and scroll through. And again, make big question marks so I can easily just see that it is actually a question. Drone Wolf Media says hello. All right, everything's starting to fly by really quick here. Taxation is theft, says Toenail. Agreed. Okay, I see some question marks. How about covering something on Canadian gun rights? Will we want to be armed to protect our rights? Excellent question. I had a guest on my live show when I was doing a weekly live show named Rod Geltaka, I believe is his last name, and he runs one of the biggest Canadian gun rights advocacy groups here in Canada. And I wish I could remember the name of that video, but I would strongly encourage you to check it out because he really broke it down in a professional manner. He really understands the ins and outs of the gun laws here. And if you use the search feature on YouTube and just type in guns, gun laws, or Rod Geltaka, or just Rod and guns, you'll find it. It's a live broadcast from maybe a year or two ago. But so much to be said. I think there is definitely something to the right to bear arms, which here in Canada, we don't necessarily have the right to self-preservation. In fact, there's been cases where intruders have broken into somebody's home. The homeowner would wrestle the weapon out of the intruder's hand and fire off warning shots or even shoot the person, and then the homeowner would be charged with a crime. That's how bad it is here in Canada. It's nothing like it is in the United States. If you own a gun here, there's all these crazy little rules, like you have to store the bullets and the gun separately in 2 different cases. If you ever want to travel with your gun, you have to notify the Canadian police about what your travel route is from point A to point B to point C and back to A, whatever it is, you got to tell them. And if you have a gun in Canada, you completely waive the right to have warrantless searches. Basically, they can come and search your house at any time and they don't need a warrant. You waive that right when you become a gun owner in Canada, and it is just ridiculous. I think we should be able to arm ourselves for self-preservation, but the Canadian government certainly thinks otherwise, and I don't think under Trudeau's Liberals that's going to be changing anytime soon. I mean, the Harper's Conservatives scrapped the long gun registry, which is probably one of the best things that he ever did. But under Trudeau, man, he's probably just going to make things absolutely far worse. So yeah, I would encourage you to go use the search feature on my YouTube channel and just look up the word gun and find all the videos I've done on guns. I think I've done more than just the live interview with Rod Geltaka. But yeah, use the search feature, check it out. Over the years, we've done a few good things, especially in regards to the school shootings. So many of those have happened over the years, and we've covered them every time they've happened. In fact, the recent one, the Parkdale shooting, is that what it's called? I think that's what it's called. Yeah, just like a couple weeks ago. My video for that one, I just noticed yesterday that it's kind of went sort of viral. It's got over 100,000 views. I didn't notice that. I just saw that the other day. I was like, oh wow, that one's really taken off. And it's because in that video, we talk about the fact that this teacher saw a guy with a, complete full army garb on, helmet, mask, bulletproof vest, tactical gear, the whole 9 yards. And none of the MSM or anybody really, for that matter, I've heard talk about this, but her eyewitness testimony is extremely important. If she did in fact see that, who was that? Because the kid who pulled off the shooting, allegedly, apparently had just exited an Uber, and it'd be kind of hard to be wearing all that tactical gear going into a school. And then when he was caught, moments later, he was in plain clothes. So as I say in the video, he either tossed everything before he got caught, or this lady's lying, or what she saw was some sort of government black op who has taken part in this thing. And then, of course, it just runs the entire gun debate down in America, and that has been flaming for a long time. And, you got Trump suggesting arming school teachers, which honestly I don't really think is all that bad of an idea. However, you know, they do work for the state, so let me backtrack a little bit. Giving the state more guns in general is not a good idea, but, you know, when it comes to trained professional teachers in school, I don't really see that as such a bad idea. But again, the gun debate has gotten really really out of control down in the United States, and they're getting really close to pulling the trigger. I mean, Trump said that whole take the guns first, due process thing second. When he said that, I was thinking to myself, if these Trump supporters, these hashtag mega Trump supporters, if that doesn't snap them out of their whatever delusion they're suffering from, the cognitive dissonance, I suppose you could call it, I really don't know what will. So hopefully, hopefully people come to their senses down there and, you know, don't lose their Second Amendment rights, which came number 2 right after the right to free speech for a very good reason. Those guys knew what they were doing. Okay, let me scroll back up so I can scroll back down because there's a lot of comments, a lot more questions. I don't see any questions yet, but let me just go back to the top so I can make sure I don't miss anybody and start scrolling through looking for some more question marks. Again, if you get in your super chat, it is greatly appreciated. We will definitely be answering 100% of those questions. Rigor Mortis says, what's DWM? I'm not sure. Did I say that? I'm not sure what you're referring to. I don't know what DWM is. Kevin Peterson says, which Bitcoin exchanges do you think or have heard of are the best? Some require photo IDs. Is this normal? Thanks. Yeah, Kevin, I'm on a number of exchanges. I'm on Poloniex, I'm on Bittrex, I'm on Binance, I'm on Kodiak or something like that. One of the ones I like the best, Kevin, is Bittrex, Bittrex, and yeah, they pretty much all do require photo identification. That's pretty much the norm. Not just photo ID. Sometimes they want to have a picture of you holding up your photo ID. That is normal as well. I would suggest checking out Bittrex. Now, I'm not sure if they're accepting new accounts. Last time a friend of mine checked, that was maybe a month ago, they weren't taking on anybody new. But that may be different now because, as you know, the market is taking quite a bit of a dip. We've seen a massive correction coming after late 2017 into 2018, a much needed correction, mind you. I think the market is kind of shaking out some of the phonies, but the hardcore hodlers are sticking around. And if you're paying attention to the ups and downs, I would just say, at this stage in the game, if Bitcoin continues to see some bigger corrections, which I very well think it may come down maybe below 6,000 before, you know, after June, I think it'll really take off. But if you do see it get to those levels, I think it's a good time to buy up again. So right now, I'm in a holding pattern myself, Kevin, because of all the dips, obviously. I took some profits late 2017 in December, which was awesome timing on my part, not tooting my own horn. Maybe it was just luck, but I got a feeling. I was like, this is really good right now, and I think I should take some profits, and I did. And now everything's gone extremely down quite a bit, so I'm just going to ride it out. But if it goes even lower, I'm actually going to buy some more. If I can. So that's my plan. I hope that answers your question about the best exchanges. And yeah, that looks like it's about it. All right, I'm going to continue scrolling down. Hardline Atheist says Coinbase lifetime banned me. Yeah, I don't trust Coinbase at all. At all. I've heard too many bad things about Coinbase. A lot of people have said a lot of bad things. I just do not go there at all. I did say I use Poloniex as well. I don't necessarily fully trust them either. And this is why it's so incredibly important to hold your own private keys. You got to get a wallet. You got to have wallets for all of your cryptos. In fact, a hardware wallet or paper wallet is the way to go. I store the bulk of my crypto portfolios on a hardware wallet called the Nano Ledger S. I would strongly recommend that device. It's a great little device, and basically you are in possession of your private keys. It's an encrypted device, and it holds up to 4 different cryptocurrencies, but I think they've updated. You can buy newer ones now that hold more. But if you are going to use exchanges, make sure you get your money out of there. Get it off there. I often trade SBD for Bitcoin. My Steam dollars that I'm getting from Steemit all the time. I basically buy Bitcoin once a week. Every 5 or 6 days, I'm buying Bitcoin by trading my Steam dollars for Bitcoin. But the moment that I get a decent amount of money building up onto those exchanges, I transfer it over to the hardware wallet. So just do not let your money sit on those exchanges. It's very, very risky. It doesn't matter how reputable the company is or the site. They're all subject to being hacked, and we've seen it too many times to take any chances. So check out the Nano Ledger S. In my opinion, that's one of the best hardware wallets that you can get. I haven't tried the Trezor. I've heard that one is pretty good as well. So maybe you want to check out the Trezor or the Nano Ledger S. But when it comes to cryptocurrency exchanges, Kevin, Peter, Hardline Atheist, can't remember all the names, but yeah, use them, but don't store your money on them. Drone Wolf Media says you haven't watched any network TV in over 25 years, plus didn't grow up with one in my home, so I don't miss it. Man, you are one of the lucky ones. I know so many people who constantly have the television on, even if they have little infants sitting in the home. You know, little tiny babies with their minds still being molded and shaped it and sucking everything in like a sponge. And they would have them sitting in front of a TV. I think it's like tantamount to child abuse. It's absolutely ridiculous. Dan, can you please reference isgpstudies.com so people will check it out, please? Love your channel. I don't want to get it wrong. I'm not exactly... Maybe you're talking about the blog I was referring to the other day. But if you have the link, I don't know if you can share links in the YouTube chat. If you can, share it. I'll pop it up right now and we'll talk about it. Galen UNSTV says you don't believe in false flag scenarios being manufactured. I've been exposing false flags for well over a decade. I've made multiple films. I've exposed 9/11 as one of the biggest false flags that has ever taken place. I've explained what false flags are on YouTube going back to 2006, and I hope you're not conflating or confusing that with hoaxes. And that's one of the things that really upsets me today is when people use those terms interchangeably, like 1 and 2 are the same. They are not. Yes, of course, false flags happen all the time. I've been exposing them, as I said, for over a decade now. Some of the things I do have a problem with are these. Maybe you're referring to when I was talking about crisis actors earlier. Yeah, a lot of the crisis actor theories I think is total BS. I think a lot of that is absolutely unfounded and untrue. And I know that's going to upset a lot of people who think that every single thing is a hoax. In fact, I had a video made of me. Somebody made a video called Dan Dix Exposed, because it was one day after a bombing in Quebec that I made a video saying, hey, let's not jump to conclusions here and call this a a hoax with fake blood and crisis actors. We don't even know what's going on here. I'm not even going to call it a false flag. Let's just let the information settle here a little bit so we can get a better understanding. And for that, I was attacked. Dan Dix Exposed is the video. Check it out. It's a two-parter. This guy put a lot of time and effort into this thing. It's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, man, I believe that false flags happen all the time. As I said, I was, one of the first ones on YouTube talking about that in 2006. In my film Into the Fire, for all the videos leading up to Into the Fire, we were warning about some of the false flags that were going to be used in that sense. And false flag can be, it's an interesting term. Let's define it. It's a military term that was used when one country would fly the flag of another country in order to pin the blame on their political enemies when carrying out an attack by falsely making it look like the other one did it. That can be used in many, many, many different ways now. So the term false flag is derived from that military term of flying the false flag of another country when you're carrying out an attack. But today, it can be done in many, many, many different ways. Okay, I just saw another super chat pop up. Thank you so much. SJ, you are doing an awesome job. Keep it up. Question, I am a pediatric nurse. I want to know how much is the push on vaccines compared to the United States? Oh man, it is bad. It is really bad here. Probably just as bad as the United States. I don't know enough about how bad it is down there because I don't live there, but it's pretty ridiculous here. Pretty much every governmental institution is of the opinion that vaccines are not just necessary, but a must. I know our nurses are facing potential, being fired or not allowed to even show up to work if they don't. Is that the same for you, SJ? Are you forced to have to be vaccinated in order to be a nurse in the United States? I'd like to refer you to a video. Let me see if I can figure out what I titled this one really quick. I'm going to go use my own YouTube search feature. And you can do that too, guys. Use the search feature on my YouTube channel when you're ever curious about a particular topic that you're wondering if I've ever, had anything to say about that particular thing. Type in that word. Like I just typed in the word vaccines, and I've got a whole ton of videos that come up that I've done over the past few years. But check out the one titled Pro-Vaccine Campaign Exposed that I put out, looks like in February of 2015. Wow, time flies. Anyways, type in the word vaccine into my YouTube search feature, and you'll see all my videos. But in particular, check out that one, and you'll see the kind of propaganda and the kind of tricks that they're playing here. It is really, really ridiculous. So yeah, not a fan myself. I wouldn't be getting vaccinated anytime soon. I've never been vaccinated. No, that's not true. I got vaccinated in, I think, grade 10 for hepatitis C because our school and everybody was making us think it was a must. We all had to do it, and me and my girlfriend at the time, thought that that's what we had to do. And my God, I really wish to God that I did not, in fact, do that because I wasn't knowledgeable enough at the time. And I think what's important now is to push the exemption forms for kids in school. And a lot of people don't know there's loopholes. Even here in Canada, SJ, there's loopholes that you can use. Religious exemption, for example. I'm not sure if you guys have the same thing, but that's definitely a good way to get around this issue. If you don't want to vaccinate your child or you don't want to have yourself vaccinated, and a lot of times it's just scare tactics. I had a friend recently who is going to be traveling to Africa, and he's being told that he has to get certain vaccines in order to go, but they're making him think he has to, but you don't actually have to. As I understand it, there's only one little country in Africa where you can't enter unless you had the yellow fever vaccine, I think it is. But you can go anywhere else in Africa. So that was just a scare tactic. So I reject it as much as possible because I've heard too many horror stories, just like I'm sure all of you guys have as well. So SJ, I hope that answers your question. Definitely, I would encourage you to go check out all my videos on that. We'd be covering it for a long time. Me and my friend Stephen Davies, who I was just talking to earlier, and Brian Law, we made a whole series called "The Shot Is the Pandemic." I think we made like a 4-parter where we went to these vaccine clinics and we were interviewing people in line to get the flu shot. And you know, I went down on the streets. We had the CBC contact me and say, "Hey, we've seen your stuff. We want to come talk to you guys." And at the time, my friend Vijay Sarma did the interview, and man, did he ever handle himself well, because they were just trying to bait him and get a soundbite out of him that they could have used for the 6 o'clock news, but he just wouldn't give it to him. You know, he stuck to the facts, and that's what's important when it comes to speaking about vaccines, is not getting into the conspiratorial, just sticking to the facts. So check out The Shot Is the Pandemic. Totally forgot about that one. But that'll probably pop up if you use the search feature. So yeah, go check out those ones. The Shot Is the Pandemic and Pro-Vaccine Campaign Exposed. All right, I'm going to scroll through, see if we got, oh, I should go over and refresh the Steemit post. And if you guys are not familiar with Steemit.com yet, you really got to get on that platform. It's incredible what they are achieving there. It's if you don't know, it's a new social media platform similar to like a Facebook or Reddit, where you can upvote content, but you get paid for posting content in Steem dollars. It's called. They pay you in a cryptocurrency called Steem dollars, and you don't even have to post content. You can just comment on somebody. If you leave a really funny and witty comment and a whole bunch of people like it, you're going to get paid in cryptocurrencies. It's really fascinating, and it's been a game changer for me. Ever since the YouTube adpocalypse has hit me hard, the revenue I've been able to generate from Steemit and DTube, a new video sharing platform built on the Steemit blockchain, it's supplemented my income from what I was getting from YouTube. I'm making more on DTube and Steemit than I ever was on YouTube, or probably ever could. And that's exciting, that's encouraging. I will tell you, it takes a little bit of a while to build up a following on Steemit, but consistency is key, much like it is with anything. But okay, so let me see. No questions, it looks like. Oh, okay, we got one from See the Prince. Should Ontarians try to vote Kathleen Wynne out even though it's a selection and not an election? And isn't voting playing into the government game as well? Thanks for doing what you do. Keep fighting the good fight. Excellent question and topic to talk about is this concept of voting and voting out somebody, and whether or not it's, you know, would a principled anarchist, for example, try to vote someone out? I don't necessarily think so. Is voting for none of the above, you know, is that playing into the system? It's hard to say. Me personally, I've never voted a single day in my life, and I'm proud to say so, that I've not played into the system by choosing one of the lesser of evils. And I think we need to do away with voting entirely. People who, I think the low voter turnout that was seen in Ontario and Canada over the last few elections, especially back in 2012, is something to be celebrated. Because as you said, this is a selection process, not an election process. You know, we know that from just look at the robocall scandals. For my non-Canadian viewers right now, we had a scandal here in Canada called the robocall scandal, where it was around 2011, I think, leading into the 2012 election of Stephen Harper, that the Conservatives were caught making phone calls with a machine, calling all of the people right before they went to the polls to give them the wrong location of the polling stations. So all these people didn't get to vote. This affected so many people that it actually affected the election, and it became a huge scandal. The robocall scandal. A lot of people might not remember that. So, getting back to the question, trying to vote out Kathleen Wynne. It's interesting what Doug Ford is now proposing, cutting the carbon tax, opening up the cannabis to a free and fair market, and scrapping the sex ed curriculum under Wynne, which is just disgusting and despicable and needs to be destroyed. There's no reason why children at the young age that she proposes need to be exposed to this kind of information. It's absolutely ridiculous. But that's what you get from an SJW lesbian premier and a feminist prime minister to boot. So I don't personally think that voting is the answer at all. You're choosing. It is the illusion of choice. And see the pain. See the prince. I would strongly encourage you to check out a video I made called The Democracy Deception. I did a whole series on it where I broke down each candidate. Win, it wasn't Win at the time. Well, let me just check to see. I did all of them. This is going back a little bit of a while ago now, so I gotta remember who all was involved at the time. I know it was the Green Party leader, the Conservatives, the Liberals, Mulcair, that's it. Mulcair, Elizabeth May, Stephen Harper, Trudeau, and then I wrapped it all up with something called The Democracy Deception. So, yeah, thank you for the question. No, I don't think voting is going to solve anything. And yes, it does play into the agenda. It legitimizes the state. It legitimizes authoritarianism if you are going to attempt to use the system to vote somebody out. It's a big debate right now in the anarchist community going on with Adam Kokesh. This is a great example, okay? This is a guy who's running on a platform to say, if you vote for me, I'm going to demolish the government. I'm going to do away with it. My first executive order will be to abolish the government. And it sounds awesome. It sounds great. But, aren't we kind of legitimizing the system and playing into that? And, so it's a tough one. But I don't get me wrong. I do like what he is doing in a sense, because he's raising awareness about the principles of liberty, non-aggression principle, and things of that nature through that political platform, which, if that's your goal, great. Use politics, use the political platform to spread the messages of liberty, just like Ron Paul did. What an amazing thing he was able to accomplish. How many people have woken up to the ideas of voluntarism because of Ron Paul? So, there's a time and place for everything. Again, me personally, I don't want to play into the system. Those people who say if you don't vote, you can't complain. It's total opposite for me. If you did vote, you can't complain, because you're responsible for the reason for this person being in there. It goes back to the Trudeau deception when I was warning the Emerys, Mark Emery and Jody Emery, as they were championing for Justin Trudeau to be the savior of the cannabis community who's going to legalize cannabis. I said, you're gonna rally up the youth to vote for this guy when you don't know his positions on monetary reform, you don't know what he has in mind to do in the Middle East, you have no idea about any of his policies other than the fact that he's supposedly wants to legalize cannabis. And look where we are. Is cannabis legal in Canada? No. Are people still being arrested like him? Yes. They didn't listen to me. They put in their vote, and now they're getting the boot stomping on their face. So, yeah, just stop voting, guys. Stop playing into the system. Kevin Peterson. Oh, okay. That's another super chat. Thanks for answering my question, Dan. Keep up the great work. Thank you so much for that. Okay, I'm going to scroll back up so that I can scroll back down. Bear with me, guys. Again, if you have any questions, put in a couple of question marks so I can see them. Okay, I scrolled back too far because now I'm reading questions that I've already read, so bear with me. And again, be sure to share this link right now. We've been live for about 45 minutes. I don't know, it might go for another half hour, hour. We'll see how it goes. I've got an interview to do tonight. I've got something to do tomorrow. I'm heading into Vancouver for an interview on Monday. Lots of interesting stuff coming up. I was just in New York last weekend for a pretty cool secret mission, which I maybe could fill you in on a little bit, but and man, do I ever have a busy June. I've got a lot coming up in June. Bilderberg's in June. I'm going to be going to that, whether it's in Europe or somewhere in North America. G7 is coming to Quebec in June. I'm going to be going to that. The Red Pill Expo is going to be going on in Washington. I'm going to be going to that. And I've also been invited to speak at an event in Bulgaria, which I'm going to be going also in June. All these things are back to back too. So it's going to be really, really hectic. The Bulgaria speaking event is interesting. I've been invited to speak at a business school in Bulgaria where they want me to talk about independent media, blockchain technology, and cryptocurrencies. And they sent somebody to Anarchapulco to recruit a speaker for this event. And this person saw my talk, saw my workshops, and said, "Hey, Dan, I think you're the guy I'm looking for this speaking event in Bulgaria. Are you available?" And I said, "So long as it doesn't interfere with Bilderberg, then I'm there." And I don't think it is. This event is in late June, so looks like I'm going to be there. Got a 45-minute speaking slot. I'm going to have to start working on that, figure out, what exactly I want to say about indie media and how blockchain technology is affecting that and cryptocurrencies in general. So yeah, a lot of stuff coming up. Go fund yourself. Media Monarchy. Glad to have you here. USA is setting up another chemical attack false flag in Syria, says Toenail. Yeah. You want to talk about false flags, chemical attacks? How about this Russian spy? He's actually a double agent, a Russian/British double agent. And the fact that this is being pinned on the Russians is such a ridiculous, obvious continuation of this Russian hoax, Russian hacking, Russian boogeyman theme that's been going on. I don't believe for a second what we're being told by the mainstream media and everybody who's following this current story. If you're not familiar, this what you're going to hear from the MSN is that a Russian spy and his daughter were poisoned with a nerve gas agent that hasn't been used since World War II, and this is, precedent setting, could lead to another war. And look, if this was done by the Kremlin, they're not going to use some sort of nerve gas agent on one of their agents to have it easily tracked back to them. I'm of the opinion that this was a false flag in the very sense of the term. The blame is being pinned on the Russians, and I feel it was probably done by MI5 or CIA. That's what it's looking like more and more to me anyways. All right, let's scroll on through, see if we could find any more questions. Is it snowing? Nope, doesn't snow here where I am. Well, it does a little bit. I'm in Vancouver. I actually live in Squamish, so we get a lot more rain than anything. But the weather is finally starting to get really nice. Yeah, spring is finally here. So I'm really, really excited about that. I see another one. Toenail says, "How close are we to World War III?" I really don't know, you know, but as history says, the tiniest little thing can spark the biggest of things. Look at the assassination of Ferdinand, or whatever the name is. Yeah, this recent Russian double agent spy poisoning thing that's going on, that could be something that's really going to trigger something much, much larger. And you got to question why all the scare tactics about Russia. Well, somebody else asked the question: is there a plan to go into Syria? I think that's a big part of what this has to do with. You know, we've known for a long time now that the United States wants to enter Syria and Iran, and it's kind of difficult to do that when you got the Russians sitting there going, you do that, it's not going to be fun for you. So there's a lot of things going on behind the scenes. And look, I'm not saying Putin is some sort of bastion of light here. He's just as controlled as a puppet as any of them. You look at World War I, look at World War II. Both sides were funded by the same people. And I think it's going to be the same with all the conflicts we're seeing right now between the United States, Russia, Syria, Iran. When it all boils down to an eventual World War III type scenario, bottom line is we're all being played for a bunch of fools, and both sides are being funded by the same group of people. It's been happening all throughout history. So how close are we, Toenail? Really tough to say. I don't want to speculate on a date or anything like that. But it sure does feel like they're ramping up this Russian hacking meme and this concept of the big bad Putin boogeyman for a reason, to get their ducks in a line, to prepare for an all-out eventual war in the Middle East, and perhaps maybe even something bigger. I don't know about all the North Korean stuff. It almost seems like a distraction to keep people's minds off of what's going on in Syria. But I think that's where the linchpin is going to be. Is going to be in the Middle East, in Syria, in Iran, with the eventual involvement of China, Russia, and obviously the United States. Okay, gonna scroll through here. Not seeing any more questions yet. Let me just see. Somebody says, Shay says, who will help when the USA is attacked or nuked by the globalists or the deep state? Russia. You know, the more and more I think about it, the more it seems to me that Trump may be being set up as the fall guy to take the blame for some major crisis. Maybe not necessarily a nuke, Shay, but potentially a dollar crash. I could certainly see that coming down the line. A manufactured crash being, pinning the blame on him in order to justify all sorts of crackdowns on the American people and people all over the world. So that's something that we need to pay attention to. Conspiracy Facts ask, thoughts on if QAnon is a disinfo agent? Very, very good question. I don't have a lot of trust that I can put into these faceless activists. I liken it to Anonymous, really, or certain factions of the Black Bloc, for example, where it's so easy for infiltration. It's so easy for intelligence communities to run that sort of an organization. Julian Assange is a good example. I mean, a lot of it seems like the leaks have really led to a whole lot of nothing. It's been a lot of what do you call it? Forget the term now. It'll come to me, but yeah, I don't trust what's coming out from QAnon. Don't get me wrong, it's still important to pay attention, but something about it is rubbing me the wrong way. I got to be honest. I'm not so sure it's coming from a good place. Drone Wolf Media says, I think Q is controlled opposition too. Karen Ann says, thank you, Mr. Dan, for always speaking truth to power. Look forward to your posts. Have you looked up Timothy Holmseth? No, I haven't. Perhaps if you want to enlighten me a little bit in the chat, we can talk about it, but no, I haven't. Okay, bear with me. I'm going to head on back over to Steemit, give that a refresh. And look at that, the Steemit post is already up to $7.89. If you guys are not familiar with how that works, in 7 days from now, I'll get to keep half of that in Steam dollars. So let's say that's about 4 SBD. Right now, SBD is probably trading at about $3 or $4 US. So you know that's like probably 25 bucks Canadian. That I've already generated from just Steemit on this particular live post, which is pretty amazing. iHuman says, hey Dan, big fan of your work. Quick question, why did you recently say that Islam is at odds with Western Christian standards and morals? Good question. I mean, I am seeing a very, very interesting move. One could call it the caliphate, the Islamification of the West is happening incrementally. And yes, there are certain aspects of Islam that are incompatible with Western Christian standards, morals, and values. For example, well, you're not going to see any Christians throwing, gay people off of buildings and things of that nature, but please don't get me wrong. I do understand that, there are moderate Muslims. There are very, very peaceful Muslims who would never, ever, ever intend to cause anyone any harm, and probably the majority. But I don't know that they're truly following the Quran and that they're truly fundamental Muslims. So, I would like to say, can't we all get along? But that's just not not based in reality when you look at history and the way these things go. So, you're referring to a recent video I did because Lauren Southern was recently banned from being able to enter the United Kingdom because she's being outspoken about Islam and the influences on the West, in particular in Europe. There are no-go zones. That's entirely incompatible with the Christian way of life, but it's almost being imposed on people in Europe, and so that's why I suppose I wanted to make the point that we have to be leery of that potentially taking place in Canada as well. It's been happening for thousands and thousands of years, as a matter of fact. So the caliphate is nothing new. The spreading of Islam to all corners of the globe is their agenda, and it's certainly going to happen. So is there going to be clashes with other religions that are diametrically, well, they're not diametrically opposed, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of correlations you can make between the Quran and the Bible that are very similar, but in my view, it's not leading to a great place and muddying the waters in a sense. So hope that answers your question. I know that's a very, very controversial and touchy subject for a lot of people. I've covered it quite a bit. Again, I really want to encourage people to use the search feature on my YouTube channel. If you go to the channel and then you click on the little microscope looking thing, and then let's see, I'm going to type in just the word Islam and see how many videos I've done over the years going over my views on this. yeah, I got a ton of videos where I outline that. One called "The Truth About Refugees Coming to Canada: What You Need to Know." Another one called "The Truth About Xenophobia." Um, ISIS and the Canadian terror threat. Islamic State prepares for the final battle against the West. The truth about the war in Syria. Here's one you should check out. Are Islam ideologies compatible in Europe and the West? Perfect. I didn't realize I made one called that. To answer your question, I Human. Please check out my video. Looks like I put it out in December of 2015, titled "Are Islam Ideologies Compatible in Europe and the West?" And I probably outlined my thoughts in that video a lot better than I am right here live on the spot. But that is the one for you to go and watch to answer your question. And again, use the search feature and watch all the other ones too. Let me see if I have any other questions coming in from Steemit before I head on over back to YouTube. And we have another super chat coming in. Thank you so much once again, Shay. Do you feel safe in Canada? Yes, I do actually. I feel really safe. Toronto is a city that I lived in for. I lived downtown Toronto for 10 years, and that's got to be the safest feeling city I've ever been in. I've been in a lot of cities all around the world, and Toronto is by far the safest. I would have no problems walking down the street at 3, 4 in the morning, 2 in the morning, dark back alleys, doesn't even matter. Any area of Toronto, I felt very comfortable. I've never, ever had a problem. And I do absolutely feel relatively safe when it comes to walking around in Canada. Having said that, I remember having a roommate once move in with me, and he was in Canada no more than a week when he got mugged on the street. So maybe I've been having some good luck. Another super chat coming in from SJ. Thank you so much. Your thoughts on Venezuela, eating cats and dogs to survive? I shake my head as well. That's a sign of what socialism leads to, ladies and gentlemen. It's ugly, but it's important that we see the dangers of socialism playing out right before our very eyes in Venezuela. It's worse than that. They're going into zoos. I think they hijacked like a sugar truck, like Mad Max style, to just get some calories in them. My dog seems to be choking or something. I hope. You all right there, bud? I think he's okay. He's just hacking up a fur ball or something. Yeah, speaking of dogs, sorry about the distraction there. My little guy was just making some really bizarre noises. You okay, Kaiser? Yeah, he seems to be fine. Venezuela is disgusting to witness what's happening right now, but important to understand exactly what happens under socialism. And eating cats and dogs to survive, yeah, that should tell you right there just how bad it is. And this idea of them launching their own cryptocurrency is such a sham that people need to reject. Centralized cryptocurrency is not going to save Venezuela. If they want to get into the crypto space, it has to be decentralized. And that's not what Venezuela is going to do. It's going to be used as another way to control the people. So yeah, I would agree. It's terrible what's going on down there. My friends Luke and Jeff went to Venezuela when, right when everything was really starting to hit the fan, and where stacks of cash are this big to buy a loaf of bread. You're almost getting to the point of the classic wheelbarrows full of money to buy a loaf of bread. Yeah, it's not just sad. It should outrage people just how bad socialism can get. And there's the proof. Look at Venezuela, eating cats and dogs. I agree, crazy. Okay. Sorry, this is jumping around all over the place. What do you know about Quadrica CX? Says Mickey O. That's a good exchange. I have used that before. I, I do like that one. It's good because you can purchase Bitcoin with straight up fiat through a credit card, debit card. I haven't been on there in over a year, so I don't know if you can still do that. But yeah, that is a good Canadian crypto exchange that I would recommend. I forgot to mention that one. Quadrica CX is another one that I've used on top of Bittrex and Poloniex and Binance and a few others. I'm into about 15 coins now, and we can certainly talk about that if you want to, because a lot of people are surprised at me for being in that space. For somebody who's been warning about the cashless society for over a decade now, explaining, that this is something that is going to enslave, humanity. When Bitcoin first came out, I started going to these Bitcoin conferences like in 2012, 2013. I went to one in 2014 in Toronto, and I questioned so many people. And my opening line of questioning was, how do we know this isn't a Trojan horse? How do we know, that this isn't being set up to control people? But my understanding of it has really evolved. My understanding of the technology behind cryptocurrencies, blockchain technology, and the decentralized coins versus centralized coins is the difference. Is what's really key here. So I don't think Bitcoin is going to be the be all and end all. Mark of the beast. One world digital cash system. I think a lot are going to come and go before we see this time when everybody's going to be subjected to being under a digital currency. That is coming, but I don't think we're there yet. Not even close. So, it's sad to say it, but you got to get with the times or you're going to fall way two steps behind. And I continue to speak out against the dangers of the coming all-out cashless society. For me, cash is still king. That's the truly anonymous way to do things outside of the government's clutches or outside of the control of the banks. Not having your every transaction monitored. Cash is king. That's why they want to get rid of it. And blockchain technology, especially with Bitcoin, is transparent. All transactions are visible on the blockchain ledger. So yeah, there's some big problems there. But are we at the point of being fully controlled with it? I don't think so. I think right now we can use these technologies to our advantage right now to free people and to free ourselves from the clutches of the government and the banks. And that's what I've been doing myself. I've been paying the bills with Steam dollars and Bitcoin and things of this nature, and doing it all outside of the view or the clutches of the big banks and the government. So I think it's important to be paying attention to. Rika, the hopeful voluntarist. Yes, I am still going. If just an update, if you didn't catch the beginning of the broadcast, my account was reinstated. FreeDix has been freed. Thank you for everybody who shared the hashtag FreeDix. It's got a bit of a ring to it, I think, and it seems to have worked. YouTube recognized that they made a mistake by I don't think it was a mistake. You know, they're obviously targeting, you know, certain channels that challenge the status quo, but they're kind of hoping I wouldn't go to the extent of appealing it, but I did. And they responded and said, yeah, you didn't violate any community guidelines, so we're reinstating the video and we're putting your account back into good standings. So yeah, I'm back. I've had the ability to go live as of a couple days ago, and that's why I'm here live right now again. My voice is too low. You break up fine from China when you speak. Well, hopefully, I think everyone can hear me okay. Maybe it's just your connection, and if you are in China, I'm sure it's from the Great Firewall of China. Free dicks. That's got somebody cracking up laughing. Yeah, well, it worked when I was jailed in Copenhagen. As a matter of fact, it started trending for a short little while, and people started flooding the police station with phone calls to say, what are you doing with Dan Dix and Luke Rudowski in that jail? You know, there's no reason why you guys should be holding them. And I can almost picture those police officers sitting out there getting call after call going, who are these guys? Like, what the heck is this? And they eventually let us out. So yeah, anytime I get thrown into any kind of jail, whether it be censorship jail or real jail, let's get that trending again. And hopefully it'll save my butt again. Okay. Mike asks, how can China be hearing this? Yeah, good question. Shay says, what role do you have with Bilderberg? Well, I have been covering it for 12 years. Yeah, I started covering it, you know, I've been paying attention to it since, you know, early 2000s. First time I went to one was in 2006 because it was practically in my backyard. It was only a few hour drive away from where I was at the time. So I went. My relationship with it is that I cover it and I expose it and I try to document who the attendees are. I try to find discrepancies within the official list of participants. And we try to get to the bottom of what the agenda is. I was, as far as I know, the only journalist, me and Luke, who infiltrated the Bilderberg Hotel during lockdown. I was on the inside of the Bilderberg Hotel when it was completely locked down, nobody in there but Bilderbergers and security. And I managed to see the inside of the meeting room. I'll never forget it. The image is burned into my mind. And I tried to pull out my phone and take a picture, but security was all over us right at the moment. Security was confused. They thought that I was a part of the White House press corps who was staying in the hotel at the same time. So there were a couple other journalists there, but they were there to cover the G7 that was happening in Munich. And they were taking a helicopter ride back and forth to this hotel where I was, and that's why we managed to sneak in, because they thought we were part of the White House press corps. And I remember being in the cigar room with these MSM heads. We're talking like CNNBC, CNN, these types of guys. And I said, oh, so you're here to cover the G7 in Munich. Do you guys know what's happening in this hotel? Have you not noticed? It's empty. It's on lockdown. Like, do you know what's happening here this weekend coming up in a few days? None of them had a clue. They were there to cover the G7. And again, that's why we managed to sneak in there. Check out my footage from that from the last few years, Shay. I also made a documentary film about the Bilderberg Group called The Turning Point. It's on YouTube. I release everything for free on YouTube, so go check that one out. I don't know if you're Canadian or not, but we tried to focus on the Canadian connection to Bilderberg to an extent in that particular film because we felt there was a bit of a void in that area. So yeah, we covered the Canadian connection, and I've confronted so many Bilderbergers now I can't even count. So many billionaire bankers and politicians and newbie recruits and old veterans and Canadian politicians, American, European, you name it. So I'll be there this year. I'll be going to Bilderberg again to try to confront these guys and get some sound bites out of them about what they're doing there. Okay, let me go back and see what other questions we have. Since Alex put out his documentary, right? Not sure what you mean, Mike Johnson. Alex put out a documentary about Bilderberg? I assume you're talking about Alex Jones. AU Kakitani says wasn't the time with Berwick. Yep, Jeff Berwick, me, Jeff Berwick, and Luke Rudowski. Yeah, sorry, I didn't mean to leave out Jeff. He was with us the whole time, but he was kind of hanging out in the hotel. Me and Luke were sneaking around, checking out the inside of that room. Oh, yeah, that's what I was going to say. It was burned into my mind where the security whisked us away because they thought we were the White House press corps. But I saw the 120 or so chairs that were all aligned like in a half C kind of formation, like a university classroom, really. Every single chair had a microphone at it, and there was a massive television screen that they were all facing, which I thought was interesting. Which I have a feeling they probably just put up, whoever's talking at the time, their face on the screen so everybody can see. Or maybe they Skype people in, not Skype, but whatever they use. Tough to say, but yeah, I saw it. It was wild. All right. See if I can find some more questions. Man, this is starting to jump around really quickly. Trump is the swamp, says Barry White. Check out, my videos on Trump, like the one called Trump is an Inside Job. All right, we'll look for some more questions. You infiltrated Bilderberg meeting. This is better than Netflix. Yeah, that was fun. Go check that out. Again, use the search feature on my YouTube channel and type in the word Bilderberg and check out all the coverage, especially when we were on the inside while it was on lockdown. I'll never forget that. And then the Bilderberg group eventually figured it out, and they sent the head of security up to kick us out. And you know what the head of security did when he came to our hotel room? He says, yeah, you have to leave, like, right now. And he escorted us out, and he didn't even let us shut the door. He's like, no, I have to, like, escort you out right now. Everything's covered. You don't have to pay for the room anymore. It's all comped on the Bilderberg group. And he says, in fact, why don't you clean out the mini fridge while you're at it? Because they're paying for everything. So me and Luke and Jeff look at each other. We're like, all right, let's do that. And so Bilderberg Group paid for our the entire mini bar that we cleaned out. So that was fun. Okay, every time I try to scroll to a question, it all of a sudden jumps around. Okay, we got another super chat. Thank you so much, SJ. Thank you for all your feedback. At PFT, my last question, who has killed the most human beings, NRA or Planned Parenthood? I digress. By far, Planned Parenthood. I mean, I hate that organization, and that's a very strong word that I don't I use very often, but they're some of the worst out there. Yeah, absolutely. No, hands down. Who has killed more human beings? Planned Parenthood. And again, human beings is an interesting way to put it, because of course I'm referring to all the abortions that have taken place, which I am completely, disagree with. But is that a human being? Not necessarily. It's still a fetus at that point, but I still believe it is life, and you are violating that life's rights. Yeah, you say you digress, but that's okay. This is an important topic. So yeah, to answer your question, Planned Parenthood's killed way more than the NRA. All right, scroll through, look for a couple more questions, and I may want to call it soon. Yeah, I've got an interview to do in an hour and a half from now, and I've been going for about an hour and 20 minutes, and I need to prepare for my interview, so see if I got a few more questions here. Why don't you cover APEC conferences the same way that you cover Bilderberg? I try to cover, as much as I can, really. It depends a lot of the times on timing and location. Bilderberg, it just so happens to work out because it's a time of the year, and usually it just works out that I can make it. But if I can make it to these other ones and afford it, then yeah, absolutely, I'd like to expand, because look, Bilderberg's not the be all and end all. I mean, there is a real inner circle within the inner circle at Bilderberg. Not everybody who attends this thing is, involved in any kind of nefarious purposes in any way, shape, or form. And I do think, yeah, a lot of the major decisions are happening at other types of meetings now. Bilderberg's been exposed over the last couple of decades. So I'm sure they're switching up the game. And even for guys like me to show up to these things, I'm really kind of a marked guy now. In fact, at the last one, it was bizarre because I was sitting at the bar again with Luke and Jeff, and the head of security came up to us and said, "Gentlemen, I want to introduce myself. I know who you are. I know why you're here. I want to let you know I'm the head of security. And I just want to make sure we're not going to have any problems. I want to make sure you're not here to cause any trouble, and I'm just going to open up the dialogue." And he sat down, and we ordered food and had drinks and chatted with the guy for like an hour. And I started wondering, is this like a new good cop tactic? Or are they switching it up now because we're, me and Luke and Jeff are a little too familiar now to be able to infiltrate the Bilderberg Hotel ever again. So that's why we need guys like more people getting involved and doing these sorts of things, because yeah, it's only so many more years of Bilderberg coverage that I'm going to be able to do this without them just totally shutting me down. But yeah, tons of other events I'm going to be covering, not just Bilderberg. Shay, do you ever get to DC? Yes, I've been many times. I was not far from there just last weekend. What about the folks calling Luke a shill? What is that? Well, there's a lot of COINTELPRO out there. The people who often point the finger at other people calling them shills are usually either employed by the shills or just armchair keyboard activists who, are suffering from jealousy. I don't know. Luke is a stand-up guy. He's solid. He's the real deal. I mean, he's a good friend of mine. I've known him for like 12 years now. We've covered so many events together, done, stayed in many hotel rooms together, and had a lot of good times together. And I can honestly tell you straight up, the guy is the real deal. He's not controlled opposition, just like I am not. He is similar to me. I would say he's a real deal. He's a genuine guy, and people who call him a shill are just wrong. Like, they just don't know him like I do, that's for sure. Thanks, Dan. Do this more often. Give a plug to Debbie Luzignan of Sane Progressive. She's been doing some amazing work recently on usurped alternative media. Usurped alternative media. Cool. I will check that out. Okay, I better jump back over to the Steemit real quick and give that a refresh, because I did put it right in the title. This is going to be a Steemit Q&A as well. What do you think about Illinois and other states' arbitrary disarmament schemes? I'm not exactly familiar with what's going on in Illinois, Fun Bobby 51, but if it's if it's unconstitutionally disarming the American people, then it's an absolutely bad thing. But again, I'm not entirely familiar with what particular situation you're referring to. But as I said earlier in the broadcast, when Trump said, take the guns first, due process second, I just thought to myself that if that doesn't snap people out of their delusion that he's making America great again, then I don't really know what will, unless it starts happening to them, like the people in Illinois, if I understand what you're saying correctly. So hopefully that's not the case, but I will look into that a little bit more. Thanks for the question. Okay, I think I am going to have to wrap it up pretty soon. Hey, it's the PFT guy. What's up, Adam Smith? I guess people are just still tuning in all the time. We've been going for almost an hour and a half now, and just scrolling through. Barry White says Lauren Southern is transgender and a Jew. No. I've known her since she was a teenager. And we've had plenty of opportunities to hang out. I'm proud to call her a friend. She's not transgender. She's a man, as a matter of fact, because she tried to prove a point by legally becoming a man, changing her driver's license and birth certificate and passport and all the whole 9 yards. She went all out and literally did it to prove a point about how easy and ridiculous it is. And we've gotten into some troubles ourselves over that. Me and Lauren were at an event where you may recall she got like what appeared to be a bunch of piss dumped all over her by these SJWs because she said there's only two genders. Absolutely insane how these those guys, a lot of those people were from Antifa, just try to silence people. And I made the point the other day on Facebook, like, look, if you don't believe in free speech for people you absolutely despise, even, then you just don't believe in it at all. And how all these kids in these universities who are being triggered and want to recluse to their safe space and just want to shut it down. How they don't see that is beyond me, but I guess it's just the Marxist ideology is making its way into the curriculum and permeating its way throughout society. I mean, we're seeing a top-down effect right now because our prime minister is an SJW. Our prime minister is this self-identified feminist promoting the gender equality nonsense, changing the national anthem. I mean, they literally changed the lyrics in the national anthem in Canada not long ago to the parts where they say in all of our sons command. Now it says in all of us command, to be more gender inclusive. This is the guy who, when he was selected, he put in his cabinet 50% women, and when asked, why did you do that? His answer was, because it's 2015. It's like, really? Not because you chose the most qualified people for the job. You just, because it's the current year. So that's why we're seeing Canada falling apart, going in a direction that it really shouldn't be going. Look at Bill C-16, being able to throw somebody in jail potentially for using the incorrect pronoun. The policing of our language is a serious issue, which, it really opens up a massive can of worms. And it's leading to even more ridiculous things like Bill 89, which would allow governmental services to take your kid away, child protection services, to take your kid from you if you refuse to recognize the preferred gender of your little kid. So if little Billy wants to be called little Sally and you call him a him instead of a she as he wants to be called, they can take your kid away from you here in Canada. That's how bad it's getting under our feminist prime minister. So, yeah, I don't know. Oh, yeah, somebody brought up Lauren Southern, and we went on a bit of a tangent there. But that's where we're at with that here in Canada, guys, and it's getting worse. RIP Canada, Rika the Hopeful Voluntarius. Yes, indeed. Hey, Dan, how are you going to the Alexander Bissonnette trial? Oh, are you going to the Alexander Bissonnette trial? I would love to be able to go to that. Do you have, I don't even know the date of that, but let me know right away in the chat section if you can. I knew he had one coming up. There's already been multiple ones, things pushed off. He got a new lawyer. I actually have been following that case, doing a lot of things behind the scenes that people don't know. You know, I filed for an Access to Information Act request to get the footage from outside that mosque to see what happened. I interviewed people who knew him. I interviewed locals when I went there, like the day after the attack. I was there on the scene, and I would absolutely like to go back for that. So yeah, let me know when that is, and I'll see if I can make it. I have a lot of my own views on what I think happened there, based on my research from the interviews I've conducted, and you know, I never really wanted to come out and openly make a video about it because I haven't like solidified that smoking gun to, you know, prove without a doubt what the evidence is suggesting to me. But I've kind of alluded to it in other videos, and I'll basically give a quick rundown right now as I understand it, and there's still evidence being collected for this, that a lot of people are under the impression that this was a breakup gone bad. That it's nothing like what the media says, that he's a white supremacist and that it was, you know, Islamophobia and that he just went into a random mosque and shot up people. No. What I'm hearing is he was gay and he had a gay Muslim boyfriend. And the boyfriend was struggling with the relationship because it was a secret relationship. He was a part of a mosque, and you know, it's very, very frowned upon in Islam, as you know. And I think the boyfriend dumped him. He broke up with them. He chose Islam over the relationship. And in a love spat gone bad, in a rage, you know, he lost his cool and he went into that mosque and he did that to the people who he felt brainwashed his boyfriend and caused the breakup. And that is the motive, according to my research. And I might as well just say this. That's what happened according to my research. So again, I haven't, I'm saying it now in a live video, but I haven't made an official, you know, Press for Truth video report on this because I'm still working on collecting that smoking gun evidence. But there you go. Maybe somebody else out there will go down that rabbit hole and find some things that I didn't. So perhaps this is still going to be useful information. Yeah, really, Mike Johnson. That's the information that I've come across. I know it's not what the mainstream media told you. I know that's not what the television is telling you or what the government is telling you. So you may be surprised, but look, they haven't said one word of what a motive was, yet they've already enacted certain pieces of legislation. I mean, like you know, you can't speak out against Islam anymore in this country because of many of these types of events when the guy wasn't apparently a white supremacist at all, and his motives were completely different from what we're being led to believe. Sounds right. says Mike Johnson. Yeah, again, when I do collect enough of that smoking gun evidence, I'm going to present it in a hard-hitting PFT-style video. But again, we're still working on this stuff behind the scenes. Okay. I'm going to check the Steemit once more, and then I really got to go. I have to prepare for an interview that I got coming up. I don't see anything new coming in from the Steemit, so I think I'm going to have to maybe call this one. Let me check this super chats, make sure we didn't have any new ones coming up. Doesn't look like it. So I think on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I am going to go ahead and call this one. I want to thank you guys for tuning in. I want to thank you for your support and the fact that I'm able to be here live streaming right now is awesome, because I got my channel, the strike, removed, and I'm back in full swing. So, you know, it's great, and I'm glad to have you guys here with me. Check the links in the description. I hope they're there. If you want to find out how to get on these other platforms like Steemit, DTube, my channels, my links are in there. I think I still got to put the BitChute link in there officially into my default uploads. I'll do that soon. And obviously, we need your support too. Check us out on Patreon if you're into Patreon. We have a Patreon account, patreon.com/pressfortruth. Of course, that's where you can contribute, you know, a monthly amount, $5, $10 a month. It all goes into me being able to continuously, constantly produce daily video content as much as I can. And of course, you can also support us at pressfortruth.ca/donate. This is where you can contribute Bitcoin. You can contribute straight up fiat through PayPal, or you can get onto the Patreon alternative, which is a better way to go, because then Patreon's not taking their percentage. It's going directly to me, and I can then use those funds to you know, beef up our production and my ability to go cover these types of events, and to continue to do what I set out to do here at PFT. My mission is has evolved into a lifelong practice. I'm in it for the long haul now. I eat, sleep, and breathe Press for Truth. I used to end my live broadcasts by bringing on my dog. I'm going to do that. Hold on one second. Where are you, buddy? Where are you, Kaiser? Oh, buddy. All right. He was hiding out. Okay, wait. I got to pull up the other camera and make sure we can see. Ah, yeah. Yeah, we can sort of see him. He's got like black hair, so it's like almost impossible to see. But this is Kaiser. He is almost 3. He is a Havanese, and he's almost due for a haircut, it looks like. It's got that natural hair, so, you know, we gotta cut it like all the time. We just do the puppy cut thing, you know, just shave it right down, and it's super cute. But that's my dog. We're going to end it on that note. Once again, thank you so much for tuning in, everybody. Keep fighting the good fight, my friends, and we will see you next time. Peace.